flexible metal conduit, or FNC, is often encountered as a pigtail for channel letters. However, it is not suitable for this use, even if most of it is hidden inside the letter. FNC is not listed for direct entry into the backs of signs. The National Electrical Code, NEC, in Article 358 specifically allows FMC only for protecting conductors in outdoor locations where it won't be physically damaged. Likewise, metal-clad cable, or MC, should not run through a wall to the backs of exterior wall packs or other fixtures. MC is allowed only in exposed or concealed locations as described in NEC Article 330. NEC Article 300.22c prohibits using MC where physical damage is a risk. Using FMC or MC in these ways can violate the NEC. Firstly, NEC 358.10 states that FMC cannot be used as a pigtail. Secondly, NEC 330.22c says MC should not be used if it might be damaged. Inspectors might sometimes use their judgment, particularly if the setup looks neat and safe. However, following the NEC and using the right wiring methods for the job is always best. For channel letters, using listed sign sections that are fully wired and only need field connections behind the wall is advisable. For wall packs and similar fixtures, it is best to use a suitable conduit or cable that is rated for the specific application and meets the requirements in NEC Article 300. Let's delve into the specifics of each of these points. Firstly, the prohibition of using FMC as a pigtail stems from its inherent limitations in providing adequate protection and support for conductors, particularly in exposed or potentially vulnerable environments. When FMC is used as a pigtail, it is often subjected to bending, flexing, and potential abrasion, which can compromise its integrity and lead to insulation damage or conductor exposure. This is especially concerning in outdoor applications where the pigtail may be exposed to moisture, UV radiation, and other environmental factors. Moreover, the NEC explicitly restricts the use of FMC as a pigtail to ensure that wiring methods are installed in a manner that minimizes the risk of electrical hazards and maintains the long-term reliability of the electrical system. By adhering to this requirement, electrical installers can avoid potential code violations and ensure that channel letters and other similar equipment are wired in accordance with industry standards and best practices. Secondly, the restriction on the use of MC cable in locations where it is subject to physical damage is based on the cable's construction and its susceptibility to damage from impact, abrasion, or other mechanical stresses. While MC cable provides a degree of mechanical protection for conductors, it is not designed to withstand severe physical abuse or continuous exposure to harsh environmental conditions. When an MC cable is installed in areas where it is likely to be damaged, such as in close proximity to moving equipment, vehicular traffic, or areas prone to vandalism, its outer armor can be compromised, leading to exposure of the conductors and potential electrical hazards. Furthermore, NEC Article 300.4d requires that MC cable be protected from physical damage by raceways, guards, or other means when installed in locations where it is subject to damage. By adhering to this requirement, electrical installers can minimize the risk of cable damage and ensure the continued safety and reliability of the electrical system. In addition to these specific code requirements, it is essential for electrical installers to exercise good judgment and consider the specific environmental conditions and potential hazards when selecting wiring methods for channel letters, wall packs, and other similar equipment. Factors such as exposure to moisture, temperature extremes, corrosive substances, and physical impact should all be taken into account to ensure that the chosen wiring method is appropriate for the intended application and will provide adequate protection for the conductors. Furthermore, it is crucial to ensure that all wiring methods are installed in accordance with manufacturers' instructions and industry best practices to maintain the integrity of the electrical system and minimize the risk of electrical hazards. By following these guidelines, electrical installers can ensure that channel letters, wall packs, and other similar equipment are wired safely, reliably, and in compliance with all applicable codes and standards. Let's discuss recommended practices to ensure compliance and safety. Firstly, for channel letters, using listed sign sections that are fully wired and only require field connections behind the wall is highly recommended. These sign sections are designed and tested to meet specific safety standards and are typically pre-wired with appropriate wiring methods and components. By using listed sign sections, electrical installers can minimize the risk of code violations and ensure that the channel letters are wired in accordance with industry best practices. Furthermore, listed sign sections often come with detailed installation instructions, which can help simplify the installation process and reduce the likelihood of errors. Secondly, for wall packs and other similar fixtures, it is recommended to use a suitable conduit or cable that is rated for the specific application and meets the requirements in NEC Article 300. This may involve selecting a conduit or cable that is designed for outdoor use, is resistant to moisture and corrosion, and provides adequate mechanical protection for the conductors. When selecting a wiring method for wall packs, it is essential to consider the specific environmental conditions and potential hazards at the installation location. For example, if the wall pack is located in an area where it is likely to be exposed to moisture or corrosive substances, a conduit or cable with a suitable moisture and corrosion-resistant rating should be selected. Similarly, if the wall pack is located in an area where it is likely to be subjected to physical impact or abrasion, a conduit or cable with adequate mechanical protection should be chosen. In addition to selecting the appropriate wiring method, it is also important to ensure that the installation is performed correctly and in accordance with manufacturer's instructions and industry best practices. This may involve properly supporting and securing the conduit or cable, using appropriate fittings and connectors, and ensuring that all connections are tight and secure. By following these guidelines, electrical installers can ensure that wall packs and other similar fixtures are wired safely, reliably, and in compliance with all applicable codes and standards. Let's talk about the role of inspector discretion. It's important to recognize that electrical inspectors play a crucial role in ensuring the safety and compliance of electrical installations. While inspectors are responsible for enforcing the NEC and other applicable codes and standards, they also have the authority to exercise discretion in certain situations. Inspector discretion allows inspectors to consider the specific circumstances of an installation and make informed judgments about whether the installation meets the intent of the code. This can be particularly relevant in situations where there may be ambiguity in the code or where strict adherence to the code may not be practical or feasible. However, it is important to note that inspector discretion is not unlimited and should be exercised judiciously. Inspectors should base their decisions on sound engineering principles, industry best practices, and a thorough understanding of the risks and hazards associated with electrical installations. Furthermore, inspectors should document their decisions and provide clear explanations for any deviations from the code. While it is possible that inspectors may exercise some discretion in situations involving the use of FMC or MC cable, it is generally best to follow the NEC guidelines and use appropriate wiring methods for the intended application. Relying on inspector discretion can be risky, as there is no guarantee that an inspector will approve an installation that does not comply with the code. Furthermore, even if an installation is initially approved by an inspector, it may still be subject to future scrutiny or rejection if it is found to be unsafe or non-compliant. Therefore, it is always advisable to err on the side of caution and ensure that all electrical installations are performed in accordance with the NEC and other applicable codes and standards. It is important to understand the nuances of the NEC and how they apply to specific installations. Firstly, understanding the scope and purpose of the NEC is crucial. The NEC is a comprehensive set of standards and guidelines for electrical installations, but it is not intended to be a substitute for sound engineering judgment or proper training. The NEC provides minimum requirements for electrical safety and is intended to protect people and property from electrical hazards. However, it is important to recognize that the NEC is not a design manual and does not provide detailed instructions for every possible electrical installation scenario. Electrical installers should always exercise good judgment and consult with qualified professionals when designing and installing electrical systems. Secondly, it's important to be aware of the different types of NEC requirements. The NEC contains both mandatory and advisory requirements. Mandatory requirements are indicated by the use of the word shall and must be followed in order to comply with the code. Advisory requirements are indicated by the use of the word should and are recommendations that are not mandatory but are considered to be good practice. Electrical installers should be familiar with both mandatory and advisory requirements and should strive to follow all recommendations to the extent possible. Thirdly, staying up to date with the latest edition of the NEC is important, as the NEC is updated every 3 years to reflect changes in technology, industry best practices, and safety standards. Electrical installers should ensure that they are using the latest edition of the NEC and are familiar with any changes or updates that may affect their work. Fourthly, consulting with qualified professionals is important when in doubt about any aspect of the NEC. It is always best to consult with qualified professionals such as licensed electrical engineers or certified electrical inspectors. These professionals can provide valuable guidance and assistance in interpreting the NEC and ensuring that electrical installations are performed safely and in compliance with all applicable codes and standards. In addition to understanding the NEC, it is also important for electrical installers to be familiar with other relevant codes and standards such as local building codes, fire codes, and energy codes. These codes may contain additional requirements that must be followed in order to ensure the safety and compliance of electrical installations. By staying informed about all applicable codes and standards, electrical installers can minimize the risk of code violations and ensure that their work meets the highest standards of quality and safety. Let's delve into the specifics of selecting the right materials for the job. Choosing the right materials is critical for ensuring the safety and reliability of electrical installations. Electrical installers should always use materials that are listed or labeled by a recognized testing laboratory, such as Underwriters Laboratories, UL, or Intertek et al. Listed or labeled materials have been tested and found to meet specific safety standards and are suitable for use in electrical installations. Firstly, selecting conductors of the right size and type is critical. Conductors must be sized appropriately for the intended load and must be suitable for the environmental conditions in which they will be installed. Conductors must also be protected from overcurrent by fuses or circuit breakers. Secondly, choosing the correct wiring methods is essential. Wiring methods, such as conduit, cable, and raceway, must be selected based on the specific application and environmental conditions. Wiring methods must also be installed in accordance with manufacturers' instructions and industry best practices. Thirdly, selecting enclosures that are rated for the environment in which they will be installed is important. Enclosures provide protection for electrical equipment and must be selected based on the environmental conditions in which they will be installed. Enclosures must also be properly grounded to prevent electrical shock hazards. Fourthly, using fittings and connectors that are compatible with the wiring methods being used is required. Fittings and connectors must be properly installed to ensure a secure and reliable electrical connection. In addition to selecting the right materials, it is also important to use the proper tools and equipment for the job. Electrical installers should always use tools and equipment that are in good working condition and are appropriate for the task at hand. Electrical installers should also follow all safety precautions when using tools and equipment to prevent injury. By taking the time to select the right materials and use the proper tools and equipment, electrical installers can ensure that electrical installations are performed safely and reliably. It is crucial to adhere to safety protocols in all installations. Electrical safety should be a top priority for all electrical installers. Electrical installers should always follow all safety precautions when working with electricity to prevent injury or death. Firstly, de-energizing circuits before working on them is crucial. Electrical installers should always de-energize circuits before working on them to prevent electrical shock hazards. Electrical installers should also verify that circuits are de-energized using a voltage tester before beginning work. Secondly, wearing appropriate personal protective equipment, or PPE, is essential. Electrical installers should always wear appropriate PPE such as safety glasses, gloves, and footwear to protect themselves from electrical hazard. Thirdly, using insulated tools is a must. Electrical installers should always use insulated tools when working on or near energized circuits to prevent electrical shock hazards. Fourthly, maintaining a safe work environment is required. Electrical installers should always maintain a safe work environment by keeping work areas clean and free of clutter. Electrical installers should also be aware of potential hazards, such as wet or slippery surfaces, and take steps to mitigate these hazards. Fifthly, following lockout-tagout procedures is critical. Electrical installers should always follow lockout-tagout procedures when working on de-energized circuits to prevent accidental re-energization. Lockout-tagout procedures involve placing a lock and tag on the circuit breaker or disconnect switch to prevent it from being turned on while work is being performed. Sixthly, being aware of arc flash hazards is essential. Electrical installers should be aware of arc flash hazards and take steps to protect themselves from these hazards. Arc flash is a dangerous electrical explosion that can occur when working on or near energized electrical equipment. Arc flash can cause severe burns, blindness, and even death. Finally, having knowledge of first aid and CPR is extremely useful. Electrical installers should be trained in first aid and cardiopulmonary resuscitation, or CPR, so that they can provide assistance to others in the event of an electrical accident. By following these safety protocols, electrical installers can significantly reduce the risk of electrical accidents and ensure their safety and the safety of others.